ahead and kick this thing off. And let's go ahead and have some fun.
Yay.
Talk about ending the night with a bang in more ways than one, because once again, AEW Dynamite brought the fun, unpredictability, and overall just the energy you need to see in professional wrestling. Hello, everybody. Welcome once again to AEWSPARK Re-Ignited. I'm approaching my 1-year anniversary in this series, and tonight's my birthday, so I figured it'd be a perfect opportunity to bring this thing back around. It's like everything just came all together in the universe. My name is Noah Foster, and I'm just a simple man. And with me tonight is one of my great friends in professional wrestling, independent wrestling, representing Bullet Cast, her own forum, Adventures in Wrestling, and Into the Stratosphere. She also is Captain Impact, in my opinion, reviews NJPW Strong, not from North Carolina, but the California area. Indie darling and member of NoDQ, like me, my friend, indie darling, Cindy G. Cindy, how are you? Welcome to AEWSPARK for the first time ever.
Hey, thank you for having me. Happy birthday, Noah. Hope your birthday has been very incredible.
I mean, it was definitely more than I thought it would be. You think about this morning where we kicked off with New Japan Pro Wrestling with 2 bangers of matches, and then we end the night with an all-out war where everybody got to show the best and the worst of themselves in a clash that brought New Japan Pro Wrestling and AEW to the forefront, to the mainstream, and we haven't seen that for a long time. So overall, this birthday, it's been absolutely wonderful, and I was happy to celebrate it with family, with wrestling. So there you go.
Indeed.
All right, so with that being said, let's just go ahead and get right into the discussion, because again, as you know, with AEWSPARK, it's a discussion of all things, all elite wrestling, and a lot has gone down in an industry opening couple of weeks. So with that being said, let's start off something simple, as always, with shedding some light on the other aspects of AEW, because as always, on AEWSPARK, I like to shed some light on dark and more. So with that being said, Cindy G, let's go ahead and break down independent wrestling, because that really is what dark is. An homage and a love note to independent wrestling as AEW talent, and more so up-and-coming talent, not just for the Nightmare Factory, but just for opportunities they are allowed to take a chance to get. They have really shown us some amazing breakout stars that have become all elite ever since this series began. And we saw proof of that tonight on Dynamite. But these last couple of weeks, we've had these showcases around 2 hours long, and a lot of talent, I think, has really brought their game up. So I'm curious, who impresses you lately the most on AEW Dark?
Well, then, the only person I could think of that really impressed me, there's so many of these incredible talent. Like, first of all, Alex Gracia, the Pink Dream, she actually did a very incredible job with some of the women's matches, especially her gimmick as the Pink Dream, like, oh, pink everything. And so her incredible moves that she has from these past matches, and she like launches some of her promos on her social media page, you could tell that she actually is improving so much. Hell, she's probably going to be in the same spot where like Kylan King or even Danny Jordan or Red Velvet will be in the position. Even though Red Velvet, not sure if she's signed or not. I mean, she is in the kind of like the same caliber as Diamante too. So she actually impresses the hell out of me. Also, for the guys aspect, and since he is officially now part of the Nightmare family, Aaron Stallo. He is originally from the Bay Area in South San Francisco. He's been busted his butts off for so many years in wrestling. Like, you've seen him appear in WWE as an enhancement talent in the past. He was trained at the Fale Dojo like years ago. And also he was in part of a documentary for like a athletic network only on social media. He definitely set and proved that like he actually bring in more of the high caliber. And when he made his debut on AEW Dark, he actually really nailed it, whether he's a heel or a babyface. And I'm so proud of him that he got the opportunity to be now part of the Nightmare family. Who knows? Just like what happened today with Big Shotty Lee Johnson, you never know he's going to get signed with AEW or not.
Yeah, again, we are truly seeing today's wrestlers become tomorrow's stars, and the future's looking very bright for the entire industry. I must say that Alex Gracia, she really has impressed me ever since coming on the CNAW Dark. And truth be told, she did her best against Nyla Rose, but again, she's the native beast for a reason. I like that they revisited NWA with Danny Jordan, the real mean girl, and Fana Rosa, who has definitely become one of the strongest examples pushing forward women's wrestling in AEW, in my personal opinion. Casey Navarro, who we've seen now between Dark and Impact, here in Phoenix, they tore the house down. Probably my favorite match from that entire show 2 weeks ago. As we keep trying to test women tag team dynamics, it seems, to see who can overcome the duo of Ivelisse Diamante, Las Sicarias. They still have yet to figure out the duo, but we've also seen mixed results when it comes to these two in singles action, including your girl Diamante, who recently did eat a defeat 2-1 Red Velvet. To surprise, she's got that Michigan strong spirit. Her and Ty Conchi, they brought a very aggressive affair. I think they bring out the best in each other. And again, Kylan King, she's a star, but again, she wasn't involved in these last 2 weeks. And basically, like you said about Alex Gracia, Kylan King owns herself with her promos too on social media. And honestly, she's just about being better every day, never letting up. And as you subtly put it, we've had recent signings to the Nightmare family in both Aaron Solo, who has been recently tag teaming with Big Shotty Lee Johnson. Very interesting dynamic. Those two seem to get on pretty well. But also, Nick Camarado has been also with the Natural Nightmares in trios action and is also now part of the Nightmare family as well. SCU continues their vendetta of all or nothing, it seems, with their next tag team loss being their last. But so far, these last 2 weeks, they kept up with it. It was great to see Miranda Lee's back, and I got to talk about the waiting room and how literally the last time it felt like a sitcom where Tony Schiavone was like the agitated father figure with one Britt Baker and Ricky Starks subtle, I don't know what you call it, like literally hanging out. I thought that was pretty funny too. I don't know necessarily if I want the waiting room as a continued segment every week on Dark. It was just maybe like, half comedy once in a while, then half like push maybe a narrative, because sometimes the Dark matches push the narratives that you see on Dynamite and the Town as well. I probably would balance out the waiting room more. It maybe seems a little bit overexposed, like other stuff. Just saying. But yeah, overall, AEW Dark continues to impress, bring more talents to the forefront, and I'm really curious who will step up and make their way from Dark onto Dynamite and eventually maybe become All Elite, or we might see them somewhere else. Again, Danny Limelight, part of NJPW Strong, he's been making great strides recently, including his recent victory on AEW Dark. And by the way, I wish Danny Limelight the fastest and safest of recoveries. He's COVID positive. Folks, it's real. It's not a joke. The earth is not flat. Quit fooling yourselves in what you think is real and what is not. It's real. It's damn real. And it's not to be taken lightly. Simple as that. All right. So now that we talked about Dark, is there anything else that's on your mind regarding All Elite Wrestling, like how BTE feeds into it? Has anything BTE stuck out to you or made you laugh recently?
No, not really. The only thing it kind of makes it more entertaining was the whole Dark Order storyline.
Of course. And we've seen how that has developed with their new leader in -1, who seems to be taking a liking to Ty Conti. And now as Ty Conti and Anna Jay don't seem to necessarily come out all the time with the Dark Order, but they come out of the same tunnel, you really wonder how close and how much this friendship is growing. And eventually, will these two meet each other one-on-one, and can that change the dynamic? And again, will Ty Conti ever join the Dark Order? Only time will tell. By the way, I still don't drink great Kool-Aid. Sorry.
Exactly.
All right. Well, anyway. Okay. So that's our Spark Light. So let's get right into the meat of the discussion. That is all things All Elite Wrestling with AEW Dynamite. Again, it has been a whirlwind, industry expanding 2 weeks. And of course, last week's narratives and matches, they pushed into this week's in a big way. So let's go ahead and subtly start with that. Let's look at the dynamic we've seen lately with one Sting and Darby Allin. People have been clamoring for. Imagine if Sting and Darby Allin was like a manager and a talent type thing. It's almost like a father-son dynamic. You see so many similarities with these two, and you really see how these two, they kind of really rub off each other. And we got this whole dynamic now of hoodlums versus, the streets as FTW in their own ways. We, of course, know that we have Sting and Darby Allin involved in a street fight at Freaking Revolution against Team Taz. And I can only imagine there's going to be more involved than what we're seeing on this graphic, despite it being a cinematic match. And of course, we also slowly learned that Darby Allin, who is still the TNT champion, he had a match this week on Dynamite defending his TNT title, a title that really exemplifies just who really exudes professional wrestling. As this title stands out in a class of its own. It's not a workhorse title. It's not necessarily a character title. It's not an entertainment title. It's not even like a face title. It's more so a title that just defines you as a wrestler, part of AEW. And this match, it exceeded all fronts with that because we've had two people that more people know simply as deathmatch wrestlers. They put on a classical technical clinic. As Joey Janela and Darby Allin, they set the pace tonight, opening the show. This was a really good back and forth counterintuitive match. Cindy, your thoughts on this?
I mean, this is a very well put opening of the match that it was tuned in, especially this is one of Joey Janela's best match. I mean, if you've seen GCW's Fight Forever, especially on the last block, the World According to GCW, Joey Janela had an impressive match against an up-and-comer named Everett Connors. Yeah, Everett Connors. And I know he did took the L from this match, but then afterwards, he actually caught a really very well put speech saying that in the past, he thought that he's going to be the top guy in AEW, but then he admit his wrongs and his action. And it definitely proved that he is a very serious worker, that he wanted to get the opportunity to. And that's actually proven today on AEW Dynamite. You know, especially like with him and Darby taking some crazy bumps. It was freaking incredible.
I mean, at one point, we literally saw Darby Allin planted face first into the apron, and there was a couple of super close spots, including a pile driver where I thought Joey Janela literally was going to pull this out. But again, Darby Allin, he is relentless. They are both reckless, but he's also innovative and extremely agile. Darby Allin pulls off the end, classic finisher, coffin drop from the top rope. What I really enjoyed about this match, though, no Team Taz interference, no Sting presence. It literally was just a focus on the TNT title. And I really respect that. As again, so far the legacy of this title, I feel, is one of the strongest in the entire wrestling industry. And kudos to both men. Joey Janela is one of those wrestlers I feel that is like either underappreciated or underestimated. And when he gets these moments, he really shines. And it proved here. So again, kudos to both. I was really impressed with this. And we wonder now, how long will Darby Allin's reign continue? Who could be the next TNT champion? When it comes to the depth of the AEW roster, not just who's signed, but who also could maybe show up, maybe get opportunity from Dark. The sky's the limit. And that's the beauty, I feel like, of the TNT title. It's not defined literally to like one class or one like certain wrestler. Anybody could potentially challenge for it, and I feel possibly obtain it.
Exactly.
All right. Well, moving on from there, we literally get a subtle promo from one, and I'm not going to say it because my voice is hoarse, Jon Moxley. Because Jon Moxley, of course, he was hyping up an industry opening main event that was basically built off a wild six-man tag between, I don't even know what to call Good Brothers and Omega at this point. It's not Bullet Club because the real Bullet Club is in Tokyo, just saying. And also, I get the whole Bullet Club vibe that Mikey Ruckus did with their theme last week. I think it's pretty cool. And they had a wild six-man tag with Death Triangle and Jon Moxley during Breach Break, where in the end, the club, we'll just call it the club.
Yeah, the club.
If someone has a better name, I'd love to hear it. We'll call it the club for now. Literally, they got the win last week, but Jon Moxley and Death Triangle, they weren't done. And as we look like Jon Moxley was going to get his hands on Omega finally, which basically he's been waiting to do since Winter is Coming last year, who the hell freaking shows up and sets up our main event for tonight? But freaking Fangs himself, KENTA. And the thing, this was all brought on after Jon Moxley finally showed his face in NJPW Strong, literally 2 Fridays ago. And pretty much last week, Tony Khan, in once again a super relaxed, open demeanor. Cindy, he solidified it. And KENTA solidified it on Twitter. The forbidden door is open. Now, whether or not we still believe Tony Khan is the forbidden door or not, that's up to people's jurisdictions.
Exactly.
But
and I want to point it out, sorry. I just want to point out, yesterday on Impact Wrestling during the AEW commercial, Tony Khan actually did admit it that the forbidden door is open because he allowed it.
That's right. Once again, he's like, I allowed all this to happen. I allowed Jon Moxley to go to NJPW strong. I allowed for the Good Brothers to come into AEW. I want more Impact talent to come in. We got this lovely triangle of wrestling promotions now at the forefront with Impact, NJPW, and AEW. Honestly, AEW is in the center of this triangle with all other promotions like NWA and AAA and OWE, which is still a partner, I might add, basically on all the sides, corners, versus whatever you want to call it. But basically, Jon Moxley says tonight, this is going to be fun because we know finally Jon Moxley will be defending his IWGP United States Championship during the New Beginning USA Tour and NWPW Strong later this month. Stay tuned. I will have predictions later on that show when I'm sure the full card will be put out. So there wasn't much more to this promo. I mean, besides the fact he was dressed for a street fight and he freaking had the IWGP United States Championship. Cindy, anything to add?
I mean, it is a pretty solid promo, but when he whipped out that belt, I was like, about freaking time.
You tell me. I mean, they literally showed the graphic. NJPW commentary, English commentary, by the way, by Kevin Kelly, mentioned it on freaking NJPW's New Beginning shows. NJPW USA freaking tweeted it, and then NJPW Global or NJPW World, whatever you want to call it, they literally put this out today ahead of the freaking match. Yeah. We're solidified. We're open. It's never been a better time to be a wrestling fan. Simple as that.
Yep.
Anyway, as we were hyping up the main event, we do move forward now with a continuing story of one inner circle turmoil as MJF, he continues these mind games, it seems. And the only one that truly seems to be understanding this is one Sammy Guevara, who I feel like has been on the verge of breaking out or being on a breaking point. And it finally came ahead tonight. Subtly, with these two going backstage, Sammy literally asking for MJF's time by himself with a cameraman in the Inner Circle's locker room. As he did this, we kind of saw what happened here as both men kind of played the side of evidence getting. But then basically Sammy, I guess you could say he snapped. Cindy, your thoughts on this? I think for a while you and I could guess that Sammy Guevara was this close to breaking out.
Well, it was pretty interesting because he saw that Sammy was a diehard player of the Inner Circle from the beginning. And then since MJF was like officially became, well, MJF and Wardlow, forgot about him, became a member of the Inner Circle after full year, it's like how they're going to go along the way of to make it interesting for the Inner Circle. Thus, where's it going to go? Because I know some people are having mixed opinions regarding MJF and Wardlow being part of the Inner Circle. I am one of them. But then they started to add some twist and turn to have Sammy Guevara. I know he is actually wanted to make a big name for himself. And I think like for him, branching out would be something to do. And of course, he did admit to MJF that he hates Jericho, which is like, wow, that's pretty shocking. So, yeah.
And MJF was trying to record that and use that against Sammy as blackmail. Sammy threw the phone, punched the man in the midsection, and was gone from that point, which kind of threw a monkey wrench and a different outlook in the upcoming tag match that we got a little later on. But before that, we had another tag match, because again, at the forefront of AEW is tag team wrestling, with the most diverse and depth tag team division probably in pro wrestling history when you think about it. Anyway, as we go into our next tag match, it was a Nightmare Family showcase, as Cody tags with Lee Johnson to take on the interesting duo of Pretty Peter Avalon, good grief, and former NXT signed superstar Cesar Bononi. Overall, this was a pretty good match, but I gotta be honest, as soon as I see Pretty Peter Avalon and Dynamite, I see lose. But there was more to this match than just the competitors involved, as it finally exemplified a moment and months of literally what the Nightmare Family stands for, and that is do the work. Cindy, your thoughts on this match and the moment that ensued afterwards?
It was pretty much a standard tag team match, but I'm surprised that now Peter Avalon is now part of a tag team division with Cesar Bernardi, because you could tell the win-loss record was on the graphic, and they had their first win at AEW Jericho, like either recently or a while back too. So it was a pretty good showcasing match for both guys. I feel that with Cesar Bernardi, especially Man, WWE probably regret releasing him back in April because he is a freaking incredible athlete and his strength, especially with that suplex to Big Shotty Lee, yeah. But all in all, it was a really impressive match. I'm surprised that Lee Johnson did pick up a victory with the roll up. It was pretty awesome.
I mean, you and I have been following Lee Johnson ever since he showed up on Dark. To this day, he had one of my all-time favorite matches in AEW Dark with Ben Carter, now signed to the Big W in NXT UK. And honestly, I thought that was going to be his breakout moment. I kept asking myself, when is this man finally going to get his win? He finally got his first ever win under the AEW brand tonight in this tag match, pinning Pretty Peter Avalon after Cody subdued Cesar Bernard on the outside. And I think Cody almost screwed his shoulder up too earlier. So again, I hope he's okay with everything else going on in his life, by the way. But just the shock and just the absolute just crowd noise, again, you hear with that moment for Lee Johnson. Everybody wanted this for Lee Johnson, okay? There's clearly a reason why he's part of the Nightmare family. I feel like he was overcome by it the most. As Lily told Giovanni, he suddenly went to interview him afterwards, and he said, this proves what happens when you do the work. This is why I'm here, and this is why the Nightmare family truly is my family. And then, as we subtly saw, Tony Khan, he exemplified this attitude of this young man. As, ladies and gentlemen, Lee Johnson is officially all elite. Congratulations to Big Shotty Lee. I couldn't think of a man more deserving ever since gracing the scene of AEW. And honestly, now I think truly the sky's the limit for him. With his idea of a tag team with him and Aaron Solo, you almost wonder will Aaron Solo be maybe the next guy signed to the company.
Who knows? He definitely did do the work, you know, for what he did, especially like when he debuted on AEW Dark during the pandemic.
That's right.
Yeah. And look where he's at now.
Sign with AEW. It's amazing what work can take you. Shout out to my friend Eric with Neo Reality Entertainment in the Wrestleverse. He had a thought regarding the main event. Looks like he did a video. So be sure to check that out, folks, and follow him at Neo Reality Entertainment. He gives some great discussions on Twitter, and he gives some great analysis on YouTube as well. Eric, I got to get you on here one of these days on Spark, brother. Definitely need to connect with you in the Wrestleverse. But I digress. Anyway, as we move on from that incredible moment, we go subtly backstage where we find the Young Bucks, our current AEW World Tag Team Champions and the Elite. And we wonder what's really going on here based on what happened last week in the Tag Team Battle Royale. I mean, we got the Good Brothers who got to worry about Private Party breathing down their throats going after the Impact World Tag Team Championships this Saturday at No Surrender. And then we had the Young Bucks who literally said, and I claim they were going to do it, they admitted it this week, if they would have went on and won that freaking Tag Team Battle Royale last week, they would have picked them to challenge at Revolution because they could have picked their challengers. But no, it's official. It's Chris Jericho and MJF, which started this whole inner circle turmoil, it seemed, at Revolution. But what's interesting here is the Good Brothers kind of swerved the blame, not on them, but the inner circle, but a different team in the inner circle. The team that eliminated them, Proud and Powerful. In my opinion, the original real tag team of the freaking inner circle. And might I add, a tag team with a victory over the Young Bucks. Just saying.
Oh, yeah.
So now it looks like literally they goaded the Young Bucks into defending their botched AEW Tag Team Championships next week on Dynamite against Proud and Powerful. And later on, it was made official. Cindy, there's a lot of moving parts going on here when it comes to the Elite, Tag Team Divisions, Tag Team Championship. I don't know necessarily if we're ever going to see like a unification. I don't know necessarily if we're ever going to see the Impact World titles defend on AEW. But this is interesting that Proud and Powerful once again find themselves with another opportunity. With this whole idea of the inner circle breaking down from the inside, and honestly, which tag team right now is the better tag team maybe, and who Kenny Omega True Alliance is. Give me your thoughts on everything that's been going on lately, especially with the Good Brothers and the Young Bucks.
I mean, they still got to continue on with the storyline, but I feel this is going to be leading up to AEW Revolution, Young Bucks versus. I know they had to like face MJF and Chris Jericho at Revolution, but it may be more into that. It may be going to be leading up to maybe a match at Rebellion in Impact Wrestling. Who knows? Because I know the Good Brothers are focusing on is the triple threat match for the Impact World Tag Team title against Beer Guns and Private Party.
And literally, Private Party shot themselves in the foot this past Tuesday, as I'm sure you will talk about on your next Into the Stratosphere.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, literally, it turned into a standard tag team into a triple threat. I love how Scott D'Amore's mind works. I wonder how much Scott D'Amore and Tony Khan could work well together, as JR now calls Tony Khan. Yeah, as long as, I mean, JR is right now claiming Tony Khan's pretty good as a rookie booker. So, hey, you got the kudos from good old JR, who's been in the business longer than most of us have been alive. God bless him. So, there you go. But yeah, and again, you wonder based on maybe what happens next week, or even what happens this Saturday. Will the Good Brothers show up? Will they be at ringside for this, or commentary? Will they suddenly get involved, maybe cause a DQ of their own? And how will you build Young Bucks versus Good Brothers if just an exhibition match at Revolution? Because I can't imagine it title for title, or either team going after the other's title. It just sounds like overkill to me. But yeah, that's just my brief thoughts on that. Anyway, moving on from there, we go to one anxious millennial cowboy. We've seen lately how the Dark Order, they've been trying to give him a home and support with family, but it seems now that Big Money Matt, as he's going by, he's trying to bring him support, but ultimately he wants an investment. And it looked like it came ahead this week, or so he thought. And now we got an 8-man tag next week with Private Party and Hardy and the Hangman. And you wonder if the plan is going to be exposed. But Cindy, I got to ask you this. Hangman has been one of those unique prospects, and honestly one of the first men signed to AEW since day one. He literally was going in there to possibly be the inaugural champion. It didn't work. He was tag team champion for a while, and since then he's kind of been, off the rails trying to figure out himself. It doesn't seem like he's drinking the same lately either, as we don't really see him with a drink anymore on Dynamite too. But give me your thoughts lately on the Hangman's mind. Like, where's his home if there is one, or what do you think his ultimate goal?
I think he just wanted to be alone for the time being, especially wanting to be like just the next top star, because like when he was part of the Elite, he's just like with any other stables, like as someone that is like looked down upon to, but he just wanted to be like one of these guys. Let's just say that.
Yeah, but you also wonder if Heyman wants to be the guy. I mean, suddenly there was an article written by one good friend I know. Hi, Amy. She basically talked about how Heyman always seemed to have been in the shadows, but he wanted to step out of the shadows of the Elite. If you remember a while back from last year's Revolution where they set up Omega and Heyman versus the Bucks, it was Heyman that was really trying to take charge because he felt like all the Bucks were doing was just trying, keep them basically, under his thumb and in their shadow. It's like Heyman's trying to be that bright solo star, but right now he just doesn't know how to, and necessarily doesn't know if he needs somebody to do that with. I'm honestly still waiting for him and Adam Page and James Storm to pair up, because I feel like that could be an interesting dynamic, especially a Bill at the bar. But speaking at the bar, we saw Matt Hardy take him into the bar. Apparently Matt Hardy doesn't drink, Baker. And it looked like he was going to give him some sort of agreement to make him millions of dollars. And I'm not going to keep saying that because that's a bad gimmick from Stupid Creative. Anyway, people who know the company know what I'm talking about. Anyway, it looks like Heyman, though, he put his own paper in play. So did he just literally take Matt Hardy's like bonus or like his money? Was that just a blank sheet? I'm really curious if this is going to come ahead next week. Will this be exposed? Because something tells me this is going to break down between Big Money Matt and the Hangman, and the Dark Order is going to save Hangman. Because what's interesting about this whole thing, that Hangman went through the Dark Order. You remember how Dark Order were distraught that Heyman didn't join them? They didn't attack him. So I still feel like they want to support him, and they truly do want him to be part of the Dark Order. So again, there's a lot of interesting dynamics here. And with the Dark Order basically being faceless now, which I thought I would never say, you gotta wonder, is this what the Dark Order needs to move forward?
Probably. I mean, it was pretty much an awkward counter.
Yeah, no kidding. All right. Well, there was nothing awkward about this, despite the fact that he's Dolph Ziggler's brother. He wasn't a show-off, but he did beat Marco Stunt on Dark, but he faced the Bastard's Rage tonight. As just out of nowhere, we had Pac face Ryan Nemeth. I thought this was a okay match, but I find it weird how Pac 2 weeks ago, coming off a victory from Eddie Kingston, it's like, okay, now I'm just beating people up. What's the Death Triangle's direction with Pentagon out indefinitely as Ray Phoenix was out at ringside? Give me your thoughts on this match. Ryan Nemeth, runs so far in AEW, and what do you see next for Death Triangle or Pac?
I mean, it was pretty much your typical enhancement match. I mean, it was pretty good. A lot of back and forth going on, a lot of like technical offense from Pac. But Brian Nemeth, he did a pretty impressive job too. But what's next for the Death Triangle? I mean, that is a really good question too, because it seems that it probably is done with feuding with Eddie's family, unless if Pentagon's back, well, they're gonna have to feud, of course, with the Good Brothers because they're the one that actually injured Pentagon. Who knows?
That is true, but you also got to consider this. With the eventual trios titles coming into play, I can imagine that being their next long-term pursuit. But yeah, I think it's safe to say they're done with the family because the new family problem with Butcher and the Blade and Pride with the Bunny, yay, Allie, literally is Bear Country. As last week we saw that lumberjack match, Lance Archer, he overcame Eddie Kingston. By the way, Eddie Kingston, hell of a match, hell of a worker. That was fun to watch. So again, it feels like right now AEW is trying to find spots and places and build new stories with certain talent, including Death Triangle at this point. And there was no presence, aftermath, or fault to anybody in regards to Eddie and his family. So I'm curious where Eddie's family goes from here. Again, I think Bear Country is their next target. And that could be interesting because Bear Country is a very unique tag team. So what I don't find unique from a lot of points, though, however, is the impact of one wedding. But before I get to that, let's see what Eric has to say here. Let's see here. Heyman's story with Matt is likely going to bring him in the crossover story. All roads lead to Gold and Omega. I have heard people slowly figure about Heyman and Page ultimately winning the title finally from Kenny Omega. Could that be a long-term plan? Could it possibly happen maybe at, I don't know, All Out or even Revolution next year? Could that be an end game for, Omega's run as champion? And would that be a fitting way to transfer the title and finally put on Heyman? Your thoughts on this potential storyline, Cindy?
I think it's too early to tell because, Kenny has to deal with like what's going on with those cross-promotion feud he has. Mm-hmm. Because there have to be a lot of like top name stars that's going to be competing to who's going to be the one that's going to be next to compete against Kenny Omega for the title.
Right.
Yeah. You got to continue on with the working relationship.
And it's just starting. And again, folks, we're just enjoying the ride. Let's see where it goes. Full Gear, November, I'll say maybe, Yeah. And what's he got here? Pop versus Omega at Revolution since Mox's win aren't stacked. Well, wins and losses do matter. And again, we have to consider that because all the records were reset this year. So again, you might be onto something. And with Revolution literally being, 3 weeks away? And we only got one official match? The sky's the limit to this card, honestly. So, again, we're going to have to wait and see. But going back to an angle that I know we've all had our thoughts about, let's talk about the wedding's impact. Because when it comes to wrestling weddings, it's always one of those things that I'm like, oy vey. Although I did like the Hathaway references because I do like that song. But this was obvious to me how this was going to go down. But it wasn't more so the angle. It was more so who was at the altar. Cindy, your thoughts on Forrest J. Mitchell basically being the freaking head of ceremony here and this wedding angle in general.
Well, that was a pretty surprising moment was Father James Mitchell being the officiant of the wedding because the crossovers continue. However, the wedding itself, the wedding is pretty good. Not pretty good, but it's like not super good. Kind of like in the bottom middle to a lower. I feel like I'm watching like the Rusev show because he wanted to show up as the best man. But since the wedding is over, he needed to drop the best man gimmick. Hell, even drop a line with Kip and Penelope. Like, everybody is giving Miro crap right now, the way that he's being booked in AEW.
Right.
Yeah, and like he definitely deserved for the opportunity that he needed to get too.
Well, the way I see it is this. I thought that wedding after that accidental shot to Miro by Kip was about to make Miro turn on them in general. But it looks like now we have a subtle feud on our hands as Charles Taylor, now back to being Chuck Taylor, with Orange Cassidy. They are basically in Miro's crosshairs. So it sounds like they're setting up a tag team match, except I have read something recently that Kip Sabian is injured. So I don't think he's going to be competing for a little while.
Nope.
Ultimately, if you're going to do something out of this, I can see Miro versus Orange Cassidy because Orange Cassidy versus Pac was Orange Cassidy's breakout match last year at Revolution that just shocked everybody that didn't know who the hell Orange Cassidy was. But in my opinion, Miro needs a breakout match and a breakout moment. It would be an odd dynamic, but if this match potentially being built means Miro finally does span his own wings, I wouldn't mind that. Because I know I read some of that. Miro said if he doesn't eventually become AEW champion, he will retire. I mean, yes, he's on TV. He's getting TV time, part of an angle, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, if there's nothing really big coming out of it, what's the point, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I've kind of been over this best man thing for a while. So now they're married. Congratulations to Ford and Kip. I'm sure Ford got that cake off her face at this point. But yeah, we need to do something else, all right? That's all I got to say about that. But Father's Day Mitchell, I just knew that when it was going to go to hell as soon as I saw this guy. But hey, kudos to Miro knowing the sports and intimate way of weddings, trying to avoid them. Guy in a present. Anybody object? Come on out. Blah, blah, blah. We've seen this story play out multiple times. Instead, he just gets shackled and literally embarrassed. So, man, it is what it is. But I guess Orange Cassidy, Chuck Taylor versus Miro, whatever. Honestly, that's all I got to say about that. Anyway, we go backstage now and we find the Inner Circle basically pondering what the hell's going on. Then MJF comes in with bandaged ribs. And yeah, they got a match coming up next against the Acclaim, who are John Cena 2.0 with Max Pastor and big tough dude Bowens, who could be a bouncer at a nightclub, it seems like. But I must say, this angle with, an hindered MJF, the Acclaim do whatever it takes to win, and Jericho's mind maybe not being in this match, I thought it really added a nice wrinkle to this match. And at one point, the Acclaim, they came this close to winning with use of the boombox. In the end, though, Judah's effect and numbers game with the Inner Circle that does stand together, they did get the win. And of course, MJF, Jericho continue their undefeated momentum towards Revolution. Cindy, your thoughts on the Acclaim. What do you think about them so far? And honestly, I didn't think this was a bad match.
It was a pretty decent match for it. I mean, the Acclaim actually did step up a little bit, especially if you're trying to face against two of the most ruthless heels in AEW. But overall, the match was pretty good, especially like MJF did work some of the moveset while he has like an injured rib all taped up and stuff.
Yeah.
But, it's pretty interesting. But the aftermath's the one that is like shocking. Not shocking, but, unexpected.
Well, I've been playing that this is going to happen for a while, but I didn't think it would be this subtle. By the way, he agrees with you on that point. It needs to end a Mexican standoff. Who shot Bravo? Honestly, Eric, I'm kind of glad they didn't repeat that angle because that would have meant Tommy Dreamer would have come out of AEW yelling no, like the friggin' scene out of a movie. Anyway, going back to this. Yeah, Cindy. Aftermath, I think, is subtle, but I think there's much more to it than meets the eye with one smiling MJF in the background. Give me your thoughts on this choice by Sammy Guevara.
Well, I was pretty much surprised, even though he said he hates Chris Jericho, but then when he confronted him, say he's quitting the Inner Circle, I was like, whoa. Yeah, he quit and left, but he went to the tunnel where the babyface usually enter and exit.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then later on, we see him literally subtly walking out of the entire arena area, out of the entrance that says no re-entry. After Alex Marvez tries to catch up with him, he subtly says, I'm done with this for now. I need some time to myself. So it looks like the guy, since episode 1, part of the Inner Circle in his genesis with Chris Jericho, has finally left the building. And MJF, I feel like right now, it's like he glad this happened, all according to plan. So ultimately, what is the end angle here? Is MJF trying to destroy Jericho's legacy? Is MJF trying to take over the Inner Circle? Is MJF versus Sammy a match waiting to happen? Or is Sammy versus Jericho waiting to happen? There's a lot of moving parts here, Cindy, so I'm just going to subtly ask you, do you think this is the year the Inner Circle finally dissolves?
I have a feeling they're going to turn on Jericho.
So
all about power.
Power in numbers, power in character, power in money. MJF could bring more power than Jericho. I mean, there's that there. I mean, MJF literally taken over what Jericho started as. Again, Jericho, he still gets to sing along for Judas, as we all do, me included. It's like Jericho is still like treated as a babyface. So honestly, I can see that dynamic carry out. And with the way Jericho basically has been putting over people, why not put over MJF? So that could be the end angle here, but I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on from there, though, we get Sting as we slowly continue to hype up the street fight. And I'm sure Sting had a lot of thoughts regarding it. But before anything could be said, talk about a ride to hell. This was interesting, and I can only imagine the aftermath of what Darby Allin might look like. Although, let's be honest, I'm pretty sure Darby Allin's probably done this before as a stunt on his own. But Cindy, your thoughts on this angle? Are we going to see a whole different side now of Sting, like Joker Sting back in Impact days? You got to imagine Sting was furious from this.
Yeah, I'm kind of like very skeptical with this. The storyline goes because I know that the street fight match is going to be cinematic because in past interviews, Sting really loves cinematic matches and he wanted to participate in it. So it's just going to be like kind of like a continuing like storyline leading up to what's going on in Revolution between Darby and Sting to Team Taz. But he's just going to keep his old like gimmick what he has when he debuted on AEW Dynamite. Just to keep the character insane. After all, he did brought his baseball bat,
Well, Sting never leaves, I think, without his baseball bat. The day that we don't see Sting bring a baseball bat to his entrance, I mean, that something weird's going on there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I gotta imagine, did Sting catch up to that van that was dragging Darby Allin in a body bag with his TNT title? I can only imagine the bruise and the scars and probably the seared marks on Darby Allin's bottom side, too. And again, he was unconscious. So again, how far did this angle go? What will the aftermath be? Who will respond to it first in social media? I guess we're just going to have to wait and see. But overall, I'm just curious what will be next for Team Taz following the street fight. Because again, everybody wants the TNT title. That seems to be at the forefront. Is Taz trying to just get the better of Sting? Who really needs to come out on top of this in the end? Because that's really what it needs to come down to. It needs to push somebody forward.
Exactly.
Well, we're just going to have to wait and see, I guess, on that. Oh, what's this? Blood red face paint Sting. The hell, you're talking about Wolfpack here? I don't know if we ever need to see blood red face paint Sting, or even Joker Sting for that matter. But again, character development, wrinkles, it could be an interesting change-up. But again, we'll have to wait and see. All right, so moving on from there, I wonder how Kenny Omega is better with, his long game or his short game. As we find Kenny Omega preparing, well, how does any champion prepare for a match that literally anything goes? You just have a nice solo day on the golf course with your caddy, Don Callis. As Kenny Omega's like, I'm not going to just be sitting around a TV watching this or waiting what's going on because I'm already great at this. I'm the greatest at this. I'm the best professional wrestler in the world. So Kenny Omega's just preparing his, practicing his golf game or golf swing. I don't know what this has to do with wrestling training, but I thought this was a fun angle. And again, Kenny Omega is champion. It always freaking entertains me. Cindy, any other things you have from this angle with Don Callis, Kenny Omega being like, everything's fine, just doing their own thing?
Didn't know Kenny plays golf. That's all I can say.
And Kenny Omega, jack of all trades. What can't the cleaner do? Just saying. Anyway, again, it was more hype, but it was subtle hype, of course, towards our Falls Count Anywhere main event.
Yeah.
But before that, here is where the women get to shine. And I'm just going to say
at 9:17 p.m. Eastern / 6:17 p.m. Pacific.
And ladies and gentlemen, for those that don't watch Dynamite, guess what? That is their regular spot, it seems. Except for last week, which I find very interesting because Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, and Thunder Rosa with Rebel, not Reba. I honestly thought that was a really impressive match. They had it earlier in the show, over 20 minutes. Both women count for counterintuitive wrestling. Protected Thunder Rosa in defeat, who was incapacitated by steel turnbuckle pad and could not answer while she was in a lockjaw. And we heard from Thunder Rosa tonight She clearly is not done with the doctor. That is one of her top 3 goals. And she did move one step forward, taking on one of my favorites. And dang it, did not want these two to face each other this early. Legit Layla Hirsch, who of course I know very well from Bloodsport. Would not surprise me to see her on Judgment as Bloodsport this weekend. Cindy, you and I, we are supporters and enthusiasts of women's wrestling. You especially, being an advocate for it and a member of AEW Heels. So I simply want to give the thoughts of this match versus last week's match to you, as well as your thoughts so far on this overall tournament. If you got to take a sip, I now give this floor to you. Talk away.
Well, it is a pretty good match. It's a shame that they put it in that time slot, but mind you, the usual time slot is at 9:30/6:30 time slot, which is kind of like closer to the main event match. But they give it like couple minutes behind before the halfway hour mark too. I just wish it would done it a little bit better, but overall, I can understand why. It was a pretty much your typical like women's match we've seen, but in a high caliber, especially when it comes to legit Layla Hirsch. She did the Tope Suicida, which it was all right. It's not the best Tope Suicida I've seen in a while.
She's right. Do that.
Yeah. But all in all, it was a really much a pretty good match. I'm very curious to see what's going to be happening next with Thunder Rosa, because I know next week on Dynamite, it'll be Riho versus Serena Deeb. And then on Monday, they're going to air the first round of the Japan slot, which I heard there's going to be filming it at the Tokyo Joshi Pro. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I think you're correct because, of course, the current AEW Women's World Champion, Hikaru Shida, is over in Japan, literally watching the matches. As, of course, they talked about the bracket today, and I must say, this bracket looks amazing. I like the fact that no matter what, we're going to have an international final, but I don't think I need to ask you which one from Japan you're rooting for the most.
Yep.
As far as the America side, there's a lot of interesting matches here. Like you said, we got D versus Riho. The winner of that is going to face Thunder Rosa because, folks, spoiler alert, Thunder Rosa did beat legit Layla Hirsch. Dang it. It was a really good match, though. Legit Layla pulled off some great knee strikes, some great high-risk maneuvers, but again, got drilled and planted by Thunder Rosa. So, again, it is what it is. But I look at this tournament, and I think about the ever-developing friendship with Anna Jay, Ty Kanji. Could they meet each other? Because if Ty Kanji, by some miracle, beats Nyla Rose and Anna Jay beats the Doctor, we could see that. But again, I'm not doing a bracket target predictions this soon. Stay tuned, folks. I might do that this weekend, or maybe we'll do this in the after shot tonight. Just talk about it, who knows. As far as the Japanese side, we know several of these names, but only really from one time if you follow the AEW product, because literally some of these names, they haven't been seen since that Double or Nothing 6-woman tag back in freaking 2019. First time ever we're going to see is Vinny, Mai Sakura, and the one that people I think love because she is truly uncensored, Make Ito. So again, it is a who's who of incredible Joshi Pro women's professional wrestlers. I'm curious how Shida has gotten in the matches, whether she's like leading them, coaching them, or even commentating them. But like you said, Cindy, this Monday night on YouTube, on their YouTube channel, they are going to show all 4 of the opening Japan matches. So I'm very curious how these are presented and how they go and how they are received. I respect AEW with the fact they're not afraid to expose a westernized audience, sports entertainers primarily, to international wrestling.
Exactly.
And again, respect.
And someone left a comment saying that the Japanese side of the tournament is said to be produced by Shida herself.
There you go. I couldn't think of a better representation to really bring this forward besides your Japanese strong style AEW Women's World Champion. And just going back on another thought too, I got thinking of something about golfing and Wild Big is going on, but nah, not wanting to pull the pin on that grenade. All right, look, if you think that guy was going to show up, you're crazy. Not this soon. Although I know he's hugely popular on TikTok, and I'm sure, Cindy, you follow him, but I digress. Anyway, yeah, I'm very curious, though, how this tournament plays out. And overall, I think this first match was really good. And I'm glad they did give it a little more time, but sometimes it just annoys me to see restaurant quality, picture in picture, especially more so during women's matches in this spot around than any others. But truth be told, like my friend AJ from Cleveland said, I guess all the matches, to a degree, did have a picture-in-picture tonight. So it wasn't like it was just a focus on a single match.
Exactly.
I digress. All right. So as they run down the card for next week, including but not limited to Serena Deeb and Rico, as you subtly mentioned, Proud and Powerful to get a tag team title opportunity for the AEW Tag Team Championships against the Young Bucks. I imagine that result's going to further show this Inner Circle future. And of course, we have an 8-man tag with Private Party and Hardy and Heyman versus Chaos Project and I forget the other team. I think it was TH2. And then we got Mike Seidel debuting with Matt Seidel. Cindy, are you familiar with Mike Seidel at all?
No, I didn't know he's related to Matt Seidel.
I honestly thought it was a character just made on the spot because I never heard of him in my life. Anyway, it's been a good dynamite up to this point. A lot of great build towards the main event. A lot of great focus towards women's wrestling. And again, we got unpredictability, wild circumstances, what the hell is going to happen next from some of the stuff we saw tonight. But none of that mattered in the end when it came down to
his brother.
What?
Yeah, Mike Seidel. Yeah, that's his brother. Confirmed.
All right, well, there you go. Again, she keeps up with independent wrestling, folks. Sometimes we literally Google challenge each other to see who can find the answer first. Anyway, let's go into the main event of tonight that literally started with last week with Lance out of nowhere coming out to destroy everybody. And then literally, KENTA, he opens the door. This match was made official. And literally why its focus might be Omega and Moxley at the forefront in the AEW World Championship. This more so was dedicated to the fact we have 4 men related to the IWGP United States Championship, including the current champion who brought the belt with him and the current challenger who brought the case with him. And we literally heard the Titantron and the music. And simply, again, mark out moment. Cindy, this match was unbelievable and personified Falls Count Anywhere. I love this top to bottom. Take it away. Your thoughts.
That was a really incredible main event match altogether. What I want to say about KENTA, he got to cherish this match, especially the cheers and the boos from the audience, because remember, he's used to the empty arena. He's used to the stomp, the clap, and the silent. So he had to cherish the pop, especially from the last episode of AEW Dynamite, where everybody was surprised KENTA made the appearance. He's actually cherished it every moment. And plus, like, we hardly ever seen any NoDQ match in New Japan Pro Wrestling. So this is by far, like, KENTA's high caliber of a match that he ever compete outside of NJPW, for all it matters, too. But all in all, it was a really impressive match. Like, Jesus, it was so brutal. My favorite part is when KENTA did give Peter Avalon the GTS.
Because he was there.
Yeah, it's so hilarious. And of course, Moxley and KENTA. KENTA did a brutal DDT to Moxley in at the kitchen area. Like, wow. Yeah,
that cart. You heard the thud, okay?
Yeah.
That cart. I guarantee you that cart's got a head-shaped concave bent in its roof. And then as he was going for a sleeper type of hold, of all the weapons to bring it up with, a bag of potatoes?
Yeah, that was weird.
Well, to be fair, Falls Count Anywhere, we saw everything. We saw trash cans. We saw cookie trays. We saw a ladder. Again, we saw a bag of potatoes. We saw a barbed wire bat. We saw a table with no give, diving foot stomps, low overhead suplexes into weapons. We saw the You Can't Escape and then a moonsault fall, whip a trash can from the second rope, sandwiching Moxley. It looked like for a while, KENTA and Omega, they were not there clearly to work with each other. But they did share a common enemy, which really helped with their focus. And then you got Archer and Moxley, who just wanted to beat the hell out of everybody. It was almost like those two, they just were doing their own things and having fun and loving it. And it truly took everything, and I mean everything, for the club.
I want to add this, Noah. Like, for the reintroduction for John Moxley, he not once, he did not call John Moxley the Death Rider. I mean, if you add your current IWGP United States Champion, the Death Rider, John Moxley. It would be so perfect instead of like, oh, John Moxley.
Well, again, it's AEW. I mean, we got the typical Justin Roberts intro with North Carolina. I can only imagine what Kenta was thinking as he was saying, listen to this. Like,
Kenta doesn't give two crap needed because, like, when the camera zoomed in Kenta, oh my God, I was dying. He has 0 F's given. Like, I was dying. He was sitting there crouching, and then while Kenny's long, cringy entrance intro was, being introduced, Kenta, who's 0 F's given.
Call it what it is. He's 0 F's. Call it what it is. Literally, I was like, Kenta's probably like, shut up, Justin, or I'll GTS you. I'm pretty sure that GTS for Avalon was for Justin Roberts, but I'm pretty sure he didn't want to get sued or fined. But yeah, nobody cares about Pretty Peter Avalon. You were just there, so you suffered. Your bed suffered too, where Omega's body broke it thanks to Lance Archer, who really demonstrated he was the most powerful force in this match at times. It was sometimes a match of 2 matches. It was sometimes a handicap match. And like you said, they went to the kitchen. They used everything in the kitchen, including a bag of potatoes. I'm surprised Moxley didn't take a bite of a potato. Maybe he didn't want starch or something like that. We had at one point, I thought for the first time ever in AEW, the freaking announce table was going to be destroyed. And that's a pretty nice announce table, too. That's definitely not your typical gimmick announce table, you can tell. But no, because Lance Archer was about to give Blackout. Kenta, he basically worms his way out of it. And as Lance goes after him, Kenta swerves Archer, comes off the stage with a diving foot stomp to a prone John Moxley through a table. Table does not break. I am the table. But both men are out on the floor, and Omega sees this, and Omega's like, oh, shit. Now it's Omega versus Lance Archer one-on-one. Now, this was fun to me, honestly. This kind of teased the idea of Lance Archer and Omega maybe being a one-on-one match down the line, even though the war at the forefront is still Moxley and Omega. And, of course, at times, bang, V-trigger counter, of course, basically put the match into Omega's favor. And then all hell broke loose even further when the Good Brothers got involved. Everybody basically had to come down here to stop Lance Archer. Even Jake the Snake Roberts tried to get involved at one point. We thought he was going to get V-triggered, but again, Moxley with the save, barbed wire baseball bat. It took 3 people after a double low blow by Kenta and Omega. It took 3 people to lift Archer onto Omega's shoulders and get the one-wing angel to give Omega the win. And I did not see that type of finish coming. And then, of course, on the outside, you got Kenta still being the crap out of John Moxley. But the things I take away from this match are the following. This was not only a continuation of the ever-going war with John Moxley versus Kenny Omega, but now you have this idea of John Moxley Kenta, who truly wants this belt more, who truly can win this match. And literally these two at one point exchanging into each other, being the hell of each other. John Moxley was a stiff kick to Kenta's chest. And I could honestly see Kenta showing up on AEW again. But this was really a great preview, similar to the tag matches you see non-stipulated wise in New Japan to hype the big title matches. This was a great preview for the IWGP United States Championship, as literally as the match got over, there was really no subtle aftermath. It just went off the air. But according to Alex Cabarates, who hosts the AEW After Show, he was starting to talk about, I guess it was going to be exclusive comments by Omega after the match. So I'm definitely going to have to go back afterwards and follow that. But I thought everybody played their part incredibly in this match. As individuals, as tag cohorts, as champions, as challengers, as rivals, you name it. This match had everything, and it definitely fit the bill. So with that being said, Cindy, do you have any further aftermath thoughts regarding this match? Who could show up next? Where we go from here with these 4 men? Or the Good Brothers in general?
I mean, this is a good way to build up because during commentary, they mentioned about the forbidden door has been opened. So there is a lot of endless possibility. And especially during the match, they actually acknowledged that Lance Archer used to be part of Suzuki-gun.
That's right.
So there's a lot of New Japan Pro Wrestling references there during these matchups. So this is kind of the start of where it's going to go to with AEW New Japan altogether.
Yeah, because once the pandemic hits, we could fantasy book, and we'll probably do that in Aftershock. I could see AEW talent in the G1. I could see NJPW talent challenging for the TNT title. And that's just off the top of my head. People are like, oh, what if Tama Loga shows up? Well, I'm pretty sure he's still trying to fix his jaw from the Iron Finger assault that Taiji unleashed this morning. Long overdue. Don't mess with the Holy Emperor. Yes, I am Suzuki-gun Pro. Eric here has a thought. AEW to NJPW, NWA, Impact, AAA, and Stardom. I don't care how many business Vince has put out in how many hells. He never fought us, not us united. It's almost like Eric is saying that AEW is trying to bring the wrestling world together while one company truly focuses on themselves and feel like they are untouchable. I feel there's some solid truth to this, Cindy.
Exactly.
Because again, what did Tony Khan say? I am the forbidden door. It was me. It was me all along. And apparently, according to his Twitter, he literally made his location Forbidden Door. I gotta say, that's just freaking hilarious.
Yep.
Well, all right. With that being said, let's go into the Aftershock and figure out, honestly, what's next. We know what's next week on Dynamite. We kind of got an idea now of maybe who's going to advance on the Japanese side, I feel like. So let's go ahead and suddenly talk about that because we know all 4 matches are next week. So I'm not truly familiar with all these Joshi Pro wrestlers, okay? Definitely after the Double or Nothing, I will say this. I thought that Ryo Mitsunami was very impressive. Aja Khan is a freaking legend. Emi Sakura, she's even faced Riho for the AEW Women's World Championship. And literally, this was a teacher-student relationship. And now Riho is back on the American side. There's a lot of interesting wrestling going on here, Cindy. But I'm just curious, who do you see excelling the most out of the Japanese side? Who you think is going to impress you, or who you most anticipating match-wise maybe next week out of the Japanese side of this tournament?
Well, I already know my picks because it's all based on like who appeared in AEW and who currently signed with AEW. So I can see Yuka Sakazaki and Emily Sakurai will be advanced to the semifinal. I could definitely see Aja Khan and Maki Otoy advancing to the semifinal. And then all in all, we're probably going to see like in the finals for the Japanese side, Maki Otoy versus Yuka Sakazaki. Because face it, Yuka in the match of the card, she's the only one is officially signed with AEW since AEW debuted the company back in 2019. So you need to have someone that has to bring like who represented AEW the most. And Maki Itoh, of course, been in favor by everyone, including Cody Rhodes too. So I could definitely see Maki Itoh going to the finals.
I mean, if Maki Itoi's Twitter game doesn't give you a reason to support this woman, I don't know what will. But yeah, I look at these matches and I think about the Japanese side. I feel like Maki Itoh, she's got to at least make it past Riho. Emi Sakura and Yuka Sakazaki, I could definitely see that being like a semifinal. But the thing I love about AEW, necessarily you don't have to be signed to be showcased. And again, this is clearly going to set up Shida's title match at the pay-per-view. So honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if she faces somebody maybe not signed to AEW at the time. I don't think necessarily they would do that at the pay-per-view, but I feel like Japanese talent versus Shida for the title as an exhibition would be very interesting. So I could see maybe some upsets here. I know some people are very high on Vinny, but if I look at this Japanese side and I think about my semifinals, I kind of go with your idea that I definitely see Yuka at least making it to the finals. Now, whether or not it's against someone like Maki Itoh, who's been very vocal and is definitely very spontaneous, or the legend Aja Kong, that's up in the air too. What I feel, though, is more story-driven, though, is the American side, because a lot of these competitors, you got great veterans in Serena Deeb Thunder Rosa, you got Joshi Pro talent, former AEW Women's Champion Riho, you got former AEW Women's Champion Nyla Rose, you got the face of the women's division, self-personified, but gotta give it to her character-wise, if nothing else, Dr. Pravega DMD. And then you got this dynamic duo that people love in TJ, Anna Jay, and Tai Kanji. When I look at this, I definitely see Thunder Rosa and Serena Deeb. I want to see that match revisited because that is one of the goals of Thunder Rosa. She wants that NWA Women's World title back. But Riho, being a former AEW Women's World Champion, it's kind of hard to go against her, but she's so petite. I'm kind of rooting for Serena Deeb in this, though, because I think that'll be a huge upset. And I like surprises like that. And AEW likes to do that. But honestly, if I get any match out of this, I want to see a new angle to Ty and Jay, where so much is not about support, it's about one-upsmanship. And I'm sure they're going to respect each other if they do face each other in this, but you got to imagine what's the winner going to fake, what's the loser going to fake. So I kind of want to see Ty upset Nyla and Anna and Brett. I want to see some maybe Thunder Rosa like tomfoolery and 7-hour exhibition maybe of Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa at AEW Revolution. But if I figure about the Super 16 and what I see in my finals overall, I think honestly I could see, oh man, I could see Thunder Rosa and Mikey Ito, but I'm just going off the tangent here, in my opinion. What would you maybe want to see, like, in your finals? Who you think is going to excel the most on the American side? You all right, Cindy?
Yeah, I'm good. Sorry.
Yeah, good. Trust me. We're all tired. We're all decaffeinated.
Yeah, sorry. It's like, it's been a long day, work and all that.
Yeah, and I got it. Well, you and I also do the work like the Nightmare Family, so there you have it. But who do you want to see excel on the American side?
Any American side. So I could definitely see Riho being Serena D because this is going to be her first match in like almost a year since we've seen her before, like when the whole pandemic started. Right. And then of course this is before the whole like restriction of the travels at that time. So definitely we'll see Riho defeating Serena Deeb. Now these two matches, it can go either way. Tay Conti versus Nyla Rose and also Dr. Britt Baker versus Anna Jay can go either way, but I kind of have to say this. I do see Tay Conti defeating Nyla Rose and Britt Baker defeating Anna Jay. And from there on in the semifinal, that's where Thunder Rosa can defeat Riho and Dr. Britt Baker can defeat Tay Conti. And to the finals, we're definitely going to be seeing a feud that we saw already. And mind you, this is kind of going to be a rubber match. Thunder Rosa versus Britt Baker.
Exactly.
Yeah, on the last AEW Dynamite, Dr. Britt Baker did actually defeat Thunder Rosa with the lock draw. And so they still continue on with the feud. So I feel like with that American side, it is going to be a continuation between Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa. And regarding who's going to be winning in the United States side, I hate to say it, it's going to have to be Britt Baker.
It's got to be her time. I mean, she's built her character. She's built her in-ring game. We've seen it. And she's overcome injury. And honestly, she could literally be the face of this women's division as champion with the tomfoolery, with her help in Rebel. Because again, it was Rebel that allowed Britt to expose the turnbuckle, drive Thunder Rosa into it, and get the win on an unconscious Thunder Rosa. That's why I'm putting an asterisk by that. And I would love to see that. And it's only the first match, too. Because, again, those two have never met each other one-on-one in AEW before that match at Beach Break. So I do get what you're saying. But, again, AEW, they love to be unpredictable and love to surprise us. So we're only going to have to wait and see.
Yeah.
Well, with that being said, Cindy, as we enter the end of the aftershock, is there any other thoughts, questions, comments, explanations, and overall aspirations you have for All Elite Wrestling coming up?
Well, it is going to be a very interesting, like, how AEW is actually going to continue on with this whole partnership with New Japan and Impact Wrestling, too, especially we're in the second month of the new year. It's going by quick.
Tell me about it.
And it's going to get even bigger than expected.
I'm pretty sure I said this to you in voice chat. I expect big things this summer. Ultimately, All Out could be a redefinition of what All In was before AEW existed. And again, All Out is their super card. So who knows what could be set up. I even subtly had the idea of, okay, you got Cody and Shaq. So this is on TV, mainstream pop, right? And then you got Jade Cargill, Red Velvet. Maybe that could be like an exhibition match set up for AEW Revolution. What are the chances of Camille or Nick Aldis showing?
I doubt it.
Again, never say never, but it wouldn't surprise me with this whole idea of like all belts type showcase. And again, NWA has very much been a thing in AEW. Who knows who could show up next? But again, we know our next angle as far as AEW goes in this open industry saga of wrestling, I'm going to call it. as again this Saturday at No Surrender, Private Party, Good Luck against the Good Brothers, and Impact team of Chris Sabin and James Storm, the Beer Guns.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'll have predictions and everything more on that later on in the week. Well, with that being said, this has been another engaging, fun, ecstatic, electric, and somewhat exhausting conversation on all things All Elite Wrestling. Cindy, I thank you so much. This was an absolute joy. And we definitely got to do this again sometimes. Anything you want to plug and promote, and where can people find you and connect with you?
Find me on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok at simply_C_OK. But on TikTok is simply_C_OKAY. And then follow my Adventures in Wrestling podcast on all podcasting platform and on the YouTube as well, so you guys can see it. So there you have it, you guys. And also follow the Bulletcast. I have my own show, Into the Stratosphere, where I mainly only cover Impact Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling, and AEW, like briefly when it's appearing in New Japan and Impact, and also independent wrestling news.
Well, there you have it. She's a busy bee. She's very proactive, and she is a lifelong fan of wrestling. Cindy, nothing but respect to you, my friend. Thank you so much for joining me.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me on your show. And again, congratulations on your almost 1 year anniversary, and happy birthday again.
Thank you. Definitely got to do this again with you. And ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed the conversation. We'd love to hear your thoughts, comments. And again, if you want to spark it up with me and you're a fan of All Elite Wrestling, find me on Twitter, for I am just a simple man and a lifelong fan of wrestling in all of its forms, the good, the bad, the ugly, the big, the small. You don't need the brightest lights and the craziest technology to be something great to watch in wrestling. There is something there, something maybe even better in the smallest of opportunities and venues. You just have to explore and open your mind, because there is far more to wrestling than just sports entertainment. Just saying, as a fan. But anyway, you want to connect more with me, please follow my friends on the affiliate platforms. You'll find me working with my boys on the Sauce podcast. We'll be reviewing that soon. And shout out to my AEW family on Twitter. There might be an AEWSPARK special coming up soon. Keep following NoDQ, follow Jeff Meacham Network, support my friends, buy a shirt, Red Cherry Brand, support Cleaver, Colin Andrew. We'll be doing more NXT stuff soon. And Wrestling Rundown, FTW, James Hebert, and of course, Cindy G and her platforms, and the Bulletcast as well. And of course, again, folks, we're all just wrestling fans at the end of the day. Keep following my still YouTube channel, because hey, I got my birthday out of the way. I'm reignited to do live wrestling content, and there's a lot of live wrestling stuff coming up. So stay tuned, as I got a bunch of live prediction and preview specials coming up, all continuing this week, starting with tomorrow night. I will have, good luck, Cindy, No Surrender preview and predictions tomorrow night live on YouTube. I will also have an entire simple take on the entire New Beginning, because literally, Cindy, we have 1 hour and 15 minutes before the final show in Hiroshima, where Kota Ibushi will defend the double gold against Sonata. So stay tuned for my overall thoughts towards that match and everything else in New Japan Pro Wrestling lately, including the new TV deal, Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And also, we got Josh Burnett Bloodsport this weekend. I might do something with that, but we'll have to wait and see. Cindy might even watch that again. We both work, so who knows?
Yeah.
Thankfully, I'll be able to watch No Surrender, so that'll be great. And of course, being part of NoDQ and Open Mind Wrestling Fan too. Yes, folks, I will have predictions and preview on NXT TakeOver Vengeance Day. So again, if you're a fan of anything wrestling, just stay tuned for more on all of that. And as always, I like to close. There are no betters. There are no winners. There are no losers. There are just fans. Support one another. Respect each other. For at the end of the day, we all just share our own defined passion for this craft, sport, art, whatever you want to call it. It's wrestling. So at the end of the day, folks, just enjoy life and enjoy wrestling. Simple as that. With that being said, I thank you so much to all of you who tune in live or watch this on demand. Please like, subscribe, comment, and tell a friend. Hit the bell on the next video goes live on this channel. Hit the subscribe button to know when I might be doing something else. And shout out to all 179 is with me on this fun YouTuber's Creation journey as I approach the 1 year anniversary of this entire AEWSPARK series. With that being said, we're both tired. I am going to watch New Japan, and then I'm going to crash. I'm probably going to make me a cappuccino. For my good, independent-hearted friend, Cindy G, I am the Superman Noah Foster. Thanks again, everybody, for watching AEWSPARK. And again, I wish you nothing but the best with all of my heart. Have a good night, folks. See you next time.
Cheers, y'all.